everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I want to answer all of your questions. So first of all, thank you so much for posting all of your questions. There's quite a bit here, and I'm going to get through every single one here. So yeah, obviously, if you want to take part in these Q&As, definitely go and join the Discord. The server name is Appetite for the Dead. I'll leave a link down below in the description of this video. But yeah, make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. But let's just get into the very first question here, and that is Q&A. Do you think they can pull a Troy and magically say Isabelle survived somehow? So you're referencing how Troy obviously, I guess, apparently died in season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead, and then obviously came back in season 8. I think that if that were to happen for Isabelle, it would be pretty hard because there was a mention afterwards, I think, by Madame Janas that she was dead. So I think it would be kind of hard to actually somehow change that. Like, I think that that would be something that people would always reference all the time. And also, I think that Fear the Walking Dead, by the end of the series anyways, became a little bit more desperate, I would say, in terms of bringing back certain characters and all of that. Because honestly, that's what Troy coming back feels like. Because otherwise, it makes no sense. It really makes absolutely no sense at all. I mean, I do like the idea in terms of circling back to, you know, season 3, but it just really highlights the problem of Fear the Walking Dead, which was the direction they took the show after season 3 went against everything that Fear the Walking Dead was. And so you just kind of went back to, you know, I guess something that people always wanted the entire time. Why didn't you do that throughout the entire series? You know, and I think that with better writing, like so much better writing, honestly, with just decent writing, the writing would have been really incredible for Fear the Walking Dead. But yeah, in terms of Isabelle, I think that the show's not going to do anything like that. I think bringing back Isabelle at any point, I don't know, I wouldn't be a fan of it. Honestly, as upsetting as the death was for everybody, I think just stay committed to it now and work on making the story better. And yeah, she'll just be one of those characters that was really great and then just died in season 2. You know, there's a lot of characters that were only around for like a season or two and then died. I feel like the difference with Isabelle, though, in terms of like characters like Shane or Merle and etc., is that you saw the potential there and they actually created a character that could have been a really like iconic character for The Walking Dead. Like if she went with them to Spain and eventually to America, right? Like Isabelle is honestly a really great character. So I think they missed an opportunity there. But besides that, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see where they go with the story here. But Q&A, do you think we will see Daryl wearing his wing vest again and get his crossbow back? Well, in terms of the vest, I don't know because I don't even know where that is. Obviously, it has to be in France somewhere. I just don't really know where it is. Does he keep it with him? Is he wearing it underneath everything? I don't think he is. And so I don't even know where that is, to be honest. I don't remember where he last had it. I mean, obviously, he had it when he got to France, right? So yeah, I'm not sure what happened to that. But in terms of his crossbow, yeah, he should get it back, I'm assuming, in episode 5. And the reason why I say I'm assuming in episode 5 is because Carol left his crossbow with Ash, right? And so based off of the promotion, the trailers and everything, it looks like they're going to be seeing Ash here in episode 5. So I'm assuming that he's actually going to get his crossbow back. It's going to be a really amazing scene. Q&A, with Carol saying a feeling came back, it can't be that she's hiding Rick's return, right? See, I've been seeing this response quite a bit, that maybe Carol is just lying about the fact that it was just a feeling, you know, that maybe she doesn't want to tell Daryl right now because it would be too much for him, or there was a bunch of other reasons. And I'm honestly happy with the reveal of it. Like, I wasn't expecting her to say that Rick came back. Like, obviously, originally I was, but as time went on, I was like, no, there's no way. And honestly, the more I thought about it, it would be frustrating if that's what happened, because if that's what happened, then Carol and Rick reunited off screen. I'd be so upset about that. Like, I want to see that moment happen, right? So I'm happy with how they explained it and everything. But the one thing I will say is it is frustrating that they would even do anything like that to begin with. Like, you know what fans are going to think. And like when they did that, honestly, it was amazing. I was like, okay, so cool. Like, The Walking Dead needs to do moments like that, like introduce things like that to get people talking, because obviously it creates a lot of excitement and that's what you want from a story. But they went nowhere with that. And, you know, it is one of those things that is frustrating. Like, I don't know who came up with that idea to, like, you know, do something like that and just where that would go. And honestly, when I look at some of the marketing and a lot of the talk about season 2, there hasn't been a lot of mention about that. Like, there hasn't been a lot of talk about that, a lot of questions specifically asked, like, was that always what that scene meant? Or did you first mean it to be like this and then you changed it later? So I have no idea. It doesn't really matter to me anyways. I'm just more frustrated that they would even introduce a scene like that in general. But I'm overall happy with the way that they explained it, because if Carol and Rick reunited off screen, I would have been very upset about that. Q&A. As we know, Carol gets a dart that contained the super serum do you feel it could cause any change to her over time? I personally don't think so. I think the way that they did the scene, to be honest, is it was very, I don't know, I saw an explanation where it was like, well, maybe it's because of the leather jacket she was wearing, but that still makes no sense because, I mean, obviously, if you see the serum, getting injected into other people as well, like that would mean that when they're first shooting the serum into the walkers or whatever, like they would know that. The scientists would know if the serum could work through a leather jacket. If they didn't know that, then they wouldn't be shooting them at the walkers, right? So obviously it does, like it actually works. I just think that it's one of those things where somehow you have to make it where Carol is in that scene and then Carol can survive something like that. And so maybe she takes it out right away so it doesn't work like immediately, which I guess is fine because the serum does take a little bit to work, right? Like it's a couple of seconds. And so Carol obviously took that out of her arm right away. So I guess it overall would be fine, but I think it would be cool if when that happened, there was something else with the story that sort of came from that, right? Where maybe Carol starts to feel some effects from that, but maybe there's a story there where you have to go to this place to get some sort of, I don't know if it's a cure for that or just to feel better, I don't know. That's more of my issue with season 2 in general, is that there's all these moments that they just sort of create. And again, David Isabelle talked about this recently in terms of the story being very fast in terms of pacing. And so they have so much story that they're putting all into 6 episodes. And because they have to hit every single moment in every single episode, they can't really explain everything properly. And so all these things are happening so fast that you just have to overlook it. And that's my biggest criticism so far of the spinoffs. I think it worked in the very first seasons because you were introducing everything. But now that we have all these established worlds, all these established characters, it is just way too much now. Q&A, with Janae's death in episode 4, how does it impact the Variant Walker storyline for the future? Well, I would say that, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I think that, well, first of all, it affects the super walkers. So in terms of variant walkers, that is still likely going to be a thing. I think what Gimple was talking about recently, and I actually have a video planned where I want to go more in depth on this. I think it's coming out tomorrow, I believe. But how Gimple was talking about this was the post-credit scene in World Beyond really showed that there was a lot of stuff happening, I guess, in France. And I think we haven't seen all of it yet. Like, yes, the super walker was in that scene, but we have questions about how that super walker was. There was no serum that turned that walker into a super walker, right? Like it just happened naturally. So obviously there's questions there, like, well, how'd that happen? There's a lot of mentions of Primrose Team and all these conferences in Ohio and like Alexandria or the Commonwealth anyways is in Ohio. So it's like what's going on here, right? Like there's all these connections. Gimple actually sort of talked about that a little bit more recently. Janae mentioned that they created the monsters. And so, I think that we're starting to learn a little bit more here. He did say that there was a moment in season 2 here that adds a lot more to the mythology and to what we could see in the future of The Walking Dead. And I do think what he mentioned there is the fact that France likely created the Walker virus. And so I think we're going to see other variants around. And so some of the burners, yeah, we saw that from experimentation. I don't know if that experimentation was from Janae and Pouvoir. I think that likely was probably something else here. So maybe we'll see that when we get to the bioluminescent walkers or just, I guess maybe Spain, right? That could be way more of a storyline there, like Spain or certain groups in Spain start talking about, yeah, France was doing this and that. And so we had to, do this or whatever. So we'll have to wait and see where the story goes, but it seems like they are still going somewhere with the Variant Walker storyline. I don't know if the super walkers will be in the story going forward, but there will be other types of variants, I'm assuming. So Q&A, do you think the overall France storyline will be finished by these next 2 episodes, since we know in season 3 they are going to Spain? I think that, yes, that is true, but there probably will be some connections and references because a lot of what happened in France around the time of the apocalypse obviously affected Spain as well. They're very close together. So I think there's still going to be some connection there. There's still going to be certain storylines that have happened in season 2 that will also happen in season 3, but obviously they will do something new here, which at this point I want. So do you feel the Daryl and Carol reunion was too hyped up? Yeah, definitely I do understand that aspect to it. Honestly, I wasn't that excited about it. Like Rick and Michonne reuniting, yes, totally get that. Like that was absolutely insane because like they haven't seen each other in a while. Michonne thought Rick was dead. That was very emotional. And for Rick, like we saw the struggle throughout that first episode, right? Like almost 10 years or whatever it was. And he was trying to get back home and he just couldn't get back home. So like that was really, really emotional. And so all of that, yeah, I totally understand why that was like really probably one of the best reunions ever. But in terms of Daryl and Carol reuniting, yeah, I got emotional seeing them reunite, but it wasn't that insane because like they were just together, right? And so in terms of it being too hyped up, I don't know if I would say it was that hyped up, because it wasn't like anyone was talking about, oh, they're going to reunite, it's going to be so exciting. I think people talked about it like, oh, that it's going to be so cool when they reunite or when they find each other, but it wasn't anything that was like, wow, this is a crazy massive moment, right? Like I don't even think The Walking Dead really promoted it like that. It was just more talking about Carol's point of view. Like when they promoted Rick and Michonne and them trying to find each other, it was a much bigger deal because it's been years and years, right? Q&A, do you think Morgan could return in The Ones Who Live season 2? Yes, I do think so for sure. I think that if the next part of the story isn't reuniting with Daryl, which I don't think it's going to be yet because I think they're going to focus more on the spinoff for a bit, I think that it's probably going to be with Morgan for sure. Q&A, do you think the writer's strike had anything to do with season 2 feeling kind of rushed? No, I don't think so, but I do think that strike definitely had an effect on like Dead City coming out, because like Dead City was pushed off for so long. There's quite a bit of things that got pushed off quite a bit, and so now we're finally getting back on schedule a little bit here. But in terms of the development of spin-offs and all of that, like a lot of that I feel like, yeah, was affected for sure. Maybe that's why there was only 6 episodes, you know, like I really don't know how much it affected everything overall. But yeah, I will say that in terms of, you know, the rushed feeling, I think that that is still more of an episode count thing, which maybe was affected because of the strike, but I still think that's them creating the story and having it, you know, I guess play out in a season 2 like this. Like, I just think that it could have been done a lot better. Q&A, do you think Beals Spies could be in the finale of Daryl Dixon or could possibly be in Dead City? I think Dead City is a possibility. I think for Daryl Dixon, maybe in season 3 or 4, like getting into some of the Spain storyline, but I think for France right now, it's a little bit too much, because the one thing that I will say about the CRM, at least in terms of The Ones Who Live, like World Beyond and that version of the CRM, I could see how there would have been connections to France and everything, but the CRM that we saw in The Ones Who Live, like, again, it just, because of its ending, we didn't get too much of an explanation in terms of what Beal was saying, because he mentioned he has spies everywhere. He mentioned a lot of stuff about why he knows that resources are going to be running out, this and that. So obviously he has like scientists and people out there that know a lot of this stuff. And I'm sure they're aware of what France was doing. And, you know, it's a lot of like the old government sort of incorporated with some of the military and all of that. So like, to me, like the CRM are very, very interesting because I'm sure they know a lot more, but it's just The Ones Who Live's version of the CRM didn't really give us that compared to the World Beyond's version, right? And so I just think that it's hard to say as of right now, because I don't know if that was a story change or I don't know what's going on, but, you know, that was a mention, I think, for Daryl Dixon. Like, it's possible, obviously, but I think for sure in Dead City, I could see something like that happening in Dead City. Q&A, will the Jenner tapes we saw in World Beyond's post-credit scene ever be seen by Carol and Daryl? You know what? That would be really amazing, I think, if that were to happen, because I think that, like, that would be a really amazing Easter egg. I don't know what happened in the scene, because I haven't watched it in some time, though I'm pretty sure after she died, he just sort of walked out, right? Like, the guy just walked out. I don't think he went and took the laptop or anything, so the laptop should be there. It's probably dead. And the thing is, you would have to have Daryl and Carol like care enough to like find a laptop. I'm sure they see laptops everywhere and they don't care to like charge it or anything, right? So like, I don't know, like it would have to be a part of the story. So we'll see what Spain brings, but it would have to make sense for the story for that to come up. But like, yeah, for Daryl and Carol to see that would be incredible, because they would be like, wait, what? Like, what is this? But ultimately, I mean, are they going to care overall, right? Like, that's sort of my question about it too, is like, it's not like they're trying to find a cure. And that's my whole thing about The Walking Dead, is that I feel like there should be an aspect to, you know, the story introduced very soon where they're trying to find a cure or something, like some sort of end game for a lot of this, but it'll never happen. And also when I mention that, I always get a lot of responses of like, no, I never want that. So there are fans that would like a storyline like that, but there's a lot of fans that do like, you know, the world that they're living in. And so that's my whole thing when it comes to storylines like that, is like, would Daryl and Carol even care about something like that? I don't think they would, because they're like, yeah, cool, we learned who started everything or like how all this happened, but like, does it really affect our lives overall? No, because we're just focused on surviving. And the one thing that we've learned about this show is that, I mean, Carol will lie about anything. She'll literally do anything to survive. Daryl will as well. And so, yeah, I don't think they're going to care about anything like that. They're just going to be more focused on themselves and trying to survive, to be honest. So, but yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Again, thank you so much for posting all of your questions. I'll get into another Q&A next week, which will be, I guess, building to the finale of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 2. And so, yeah, first of all, I apologize for not posting the last 2 days. I was just very busy with a lot of stuff, but I'm doing this video today. I also will have my members video coming out later on today as well. I will be doing a ratings video, but also sort of a video video talking about Andrew Lincoln and John Bernthal. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Tomorrow I'll have my episode 5 teaser video coming out. I'll also talk about some of the Walker origin stuff. And then yeah, Sunday will be the reviews and breakdowns of all of that. That'll carry over for a couple of days, get back to the Q&A. And then yeah, I have about 10 or 15 video ideas here. So we'll see if I get into any of this stuff here, or we'll see what happens in the episode. That's sort of how I do videos here. Like I have a lot of video ideas right here, about 10 to 15 ideas. I'll always sort of like every sort of like week or two or a couple of days or something, I'll sort of, you know, think of some really cool ideas and just write a bunch of ideas down. And I'm like, well, whenever I have free time, like usually when The Walking Dead's not airing, I'll get to some of these ideas. And so it always depends on what happens in some of the episodes, because obviously some episodes are just absolutely crazy and a lot of stuff happens. And so I'll cover a lot of that. But yeah, I'm really excited for, you know, some of the stuff happening in 2025. You know, like there's The Last of Us. I will be following Fallout Season 2 quite a bit. I'm keeping an eye on it right now. And because I covered Fallout earlier this year, and honestly, it was really great to do that. It's another apocalyptic show, and you guys seem to really like me covering that show. So a lot of that, I think, is stuff that I'm going to be covering. It's like things that are related to the apocalypse, because that seems to be the thing that I'm most interested in, and I've sort of discovered that in the last little bit. Like I've always known that I like horror movies and horror TV shows, but the apocalypse aspect to it is something that I really do like. And so Fallout, The Last of Us, shows like that I'm going to cover quite a bit. Like honestly, like a lot when those shows are airing. And so The Last of Us, when that comes out for Season 2, I'm going to cover it just like I cover The Walking Dead. Fallout Season 2 as well. And yeah, obviously The Walking Dead. So a lot to look forward to in 2025. I'm very, very excited. But thanks again for posting all of your questions. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.